Hello there, I'm Chris. Welcome to today's session. This episode is a three-part series about the Samsung Accessory Protocol or SAP. Part 1 is all about the development on the Android side. Part 2 deals with the development on the Tizen side. Finally, Part 3 is about the complete application for SAP, which is basically a combination of the Android part and the Tizen part. In the first episode, we introduced SAP briefly on what it does and some of its capabilities. So here are the use cases as defined in the gear page on the Samsung developer side. You can control the music from the wearable, can receive notifications, and locate the device from the wearable. However, SAP currently has the following restrictions. Only the current Samsung Gear supports accessory. Both the smart and wearable device must have the accessory framework installed, and only devices with Android 4.3 or higher support accessory. Here's what we need in order to create a simple SAP application for the Android side. First, make sure to have Eclipse with Android development tools installed. Make sure to have updated until the Jelly Bean packages. Jelly Bean is the minimum requirement to use SAP. We will also need the two jar files that are used to introduce SAP to the device. These can be found in the Mobile SDK 1.5 archive file discussed in our first episode. Make sure to have an Android smart device that has Jelly Bean also. That's about it. The other vital parts are in the application that will be created, and information about them will be given as we develop. Let's get started. First, open Eclipse with Android development tools. Let's just go ahead and open that. I've selected my own workspace, so I go ahead and click and OK. You can create your own workspace if you want to, a separate one. So just wait for it to load. So now we're in Eclipse with Android capabilities. So to create a new project, select New, then Android Application Project. Let's give it a file name. I'm going to name it Simple SAP Provider. Notice that the project name and application name is the same, so leave it at that. And for the package name, to get rid of that warning, let's just change the example word to something else. So let's select the minimum required SDK. I'll select API 16 or Android 4.1, and I'll target Android 4.3. I'll compile with 4.3 as well, and I'll set the theme to none. Go ahead and click next. Since we won't be using any activity for this one, we're focusing mainly on the SAP part, which is a service. I will untick the create activity and click next. So if you want to customize an icon, or if you want to load your own icon as well, you can go ahead and do that here. I'll leave mine with the default icon. And since we don't have an activity, we leave this as is. Notice the create activity is unticked, and I click finish. So now we have a working template that we can add SAP capabilities to. Let's lay some groundwork for future use. First, place the accessory version 1.0.0 and SDK version 1.0.0 jar files into the libs folder of the created project. If you're wondering where we got this is from Mobile SDK 1.5. If you don't have that, you can go ahead to the developer website of Samsung and download the Mobile SDK package. Next, let's create a new folder inside res that we will name XML. This is where we will place the metadata. Go ahead and do that. And inside that folder, let's add a new file. This file will be named SAP services.xml. This will be the metadata that will be communicating with Tizen. This will be the link of the Android side and the Tizen side. So go ahead and click finish. So go ahead and click yes. Notice that there will be an error since there is nothing inside the current XML right now. Don't worry about that. We will add details later. Now that we have all the files in place, let's move on to the software. We will create a class inside the source folder. So I will name my class SAP Service Provider. I will place it in a package. So that's the same package that our project is named after. So I go to com.test simple SAP provider, just to distinct it from the rest of the source files. I'll place it in service. Click finish. So now that we have the source code, let's extend the SA agent. So this should be fine. I will import the SA agent from the jar files that we imported. So this will add nicely on top. Notice that you have errors in your code. Don't worry about that. First, let's add the constructor for your class. Look, there's still errors. That's okay. Don't panic. It's only requiring you to add the unimplemented methods. Go ahead and click Add Unimplemented Methods. So now your class is nicely placed and doesn't have errors for now. The SA agent provides the main interface between the service provider and consumer applications and Samsung Accessory Service Framework. So right now, you must have the onFind peer agent response, like so. Also have the onService connection response and onBind methods, as well as the constructor to your class. I'm going to modify the parameters for the onService connection response to have a more definitive name. So for this one, I will name it disconnection. And for the second parameter, I will name it result. So now inside the class, we'll add a variable. So this is public final and static. It is a string, and we will name it tag, which will have the value of SAP service provider. Close that with a semicolon. This will be mainly used for logging purposes. And another variable, which is final and static as well. It's an integer, and I will name it SAP service channel ID. This will mainly be used for the channel where the wearable device and the Android device will communicate. Go ahead and save it. And we will add two more methods. The first method that we will add is the onCreate. So go ahead and look for that. Add that inside, as well as the onServiceConnect requested. So now we have those two methods added. Inside the onServiceConnect requested, just remove the call to the superclass, since this will be mainly used for another purpose. We need to add two inner classes. So first, I will create a class that extends a binder. I'll name it local binder. So now that's a class with a binder. And I will add a method inside named getService that will return a SAP service provider object. No parameters needed. So this returns the SAP service provider. Close it like that. And now that is your first inner class. Next, let's create another class. So this class will also be public, and I will name it SAP Service Provider Connection. Let it extend the SA socket object. And there's your class. So right now you're going to see some errors. This is similar to when we extended the SA agent. So first, let's add the constructor and the unimplemented methods. So now that your code is neat and clean with no errors, let's fill in everything in this class. The SA socket represents an instance of a service connection between a service provider and a service consumer. Inside the SAP Service Provider Connection class, let's add a variable, which is private. It's an integer, and let's name it connection ID. Inside the constructor, let's change what is passed to the superclass caller. So let's get the name of the class. Let's call the class and let's get the name. So since we have that in place, we don't need the parameters inside here. Just delete that, clean it up, and delete this comment as well. So now the constructor for the SAP Service Provider Connection class is done. In the onError method, you can use this for logging. So first, in order to get a more definitive name for the parameters, let's change the first one to channel ID, is the channel communicating, and the second one to the error string, and the last would be the error code, which is an integer. Inside, just delete the comment. Let's log the error. So first, let's place the tag as the error tag and the error over here. So let's name it error and put a semicolon over there plus the error string and put a space for the error code. Close it up. And since log has a problem, let's go ahead and import log. In the onReceive method, this is where the message from the wearable device arrives, and this is where it communicates to the wearable device as well. So for our parameters, to give a more definitive name, the first one we change to channel ID. And the second one will be the data. I removed the comment. I typed in my code ahead of time. This is a bit lengthy, so I discuss it to you. What it basically does is that the message is the one being sent to the device. The time, let's fix the error first. Import Android text format, gets the time of the system, my device, and we get the minute and the second. And for this method gets the manufacturer and the model of my device. I'll give you an explanation later once we add this method. For our connection map, this is a hash map of an integer and a SAP Service Provider connection. We'll add that later. And as you can see, we still have an error here for an exception. Let's go ahead and import this. In this block, this is where the message is sent to the wearable device using the uhandler. The uhandler is basically a SAP Service connection, provider connection, that gets the connection from the hash map of the wearable paired with it. So for the getDeviceInfo method, let's add that to our main class. So let's say public return a string get device info. So in here, let's define a string named manufacturer, which will get the build manufacturer, like so, and another string for the model, which will get the build model. So let's return the manufacturer as well as the model. Sorry about that. Going back to the SAP Service Provider Connection class, let's add something to on-service connection lost. First, let's remove the comment, and inside it, let's create a method just in case the connection drops. So now the only errors we have are the reference to the hash map that we will add to the main class. For now, we're finished with the internal classes. Back to the main service class, add a object which is private, final as well. It's an iBinder object. This creates a new local binder. Close that up. So what this basically does is that it creates a local binder which is responsible for returning an SA agent service. And aside from that, we will now create the hash map. So I'll go ahead and create that hash map with the key of the integer and the value having the SAP Service Provider Connection. We shall name this the connection map, like so, equivalent to null. So now our code doesn't have errors anymore. Now we're done with the variables as well. So what's left is to fill in the inner classes of the main service class that extends SA agent. First, let's modify the constructor. Remove the parameters. We won't be needing any of them. So you're going to have an error with the superclass caller. Let's remove the comment as well. For the first parameter, just pass the tag. And for the second parameter, just pass the SAP Service Provider Connection class. You should end up with a pretty clean code like this. Save it. Let's change the access modifier to the constructor to public. And for the onFind peer agent response, we won't be using this for now. You can use this for logging purposes though, if you want to. In the onService connection response method, this will be a bit lengthy, so I typed mine ahead. Basically, this is where the connection is handled. So right here in the first if statement, this is where the connection is tested if the connection is not null. So if it's not, a connection is established and added to the connection map as a new entry. So right now you're going to see a toast message error. Let's just import toast like so. This will be able to show us a message upon a successful connection, the rest of which are error handling. Go ahead and save that. In the onBind method, simply delete the comment and return the binder object. In the onCreate method, let's add code to initialize Samsung accessory as soon as the service is installed. So first we remove the comment like so, and I type my code ahead of time again. Let me just go ahead and explain this to you. So basically, this is the part where the Samsung accessory is initialized to a new object, to maccessory. So let's import this. First, we try to initialize inside the try block. The catch blocks are there just in case the SDK is not supported or the accessory package cannot be initialized. The stop self method call over here is for the service to stop itself if it was previously called to run. In the onService connection method, first let's change the parameter to peer agent. This will be the requesting wearable device for a connection. And for this method, let's call accept connection request that accepts the peer agent. Close that up with semicolon. And now we're done with all the methods. So we now have a service class that will do most of the work, but we still have things to do. Let's go to the XML file that we earlier created inside res/xml. So let's add resources and a closing tag for that as well. So this should remove the errors for now. And aside from that, add application and a pair closing tag. So now we have that in place. Let's go add a service profile. Closing tag as well. In the service profile, let's define an ID. The ID is usually where the system places the application, so let's just type in system/sap sample. Take note of this ID. We'll use it in Tizen side as well. And for the name, let's just call it sap sample. Going back to the application, make sure to name it with the name of the application that you created. For this one, the name is the simple SAP provider. Define a role. The role of the Android side is the provider, and the service implementation make sure to direct it to where we created the service. Like so, with the name of the class. Add a version. We specify version 1.0 and service limit. Set this to any. Timeout set to 10. Let's add a supported transport. So you might be wondering what transport type we will support for now. For now, we will support Wi-Fi, not Bluetooth, even though Gear supports Bluetooth only. The reason we're supporting Wi-Fi is because we will be testing the application via the emulator to simulate a Gear connection via USB. Close that up. And after this, let's add a service channel. Take note that we defined the channel number in our code. So this is 123. Set the data rate to low, the priority to low, and the reliability, set it to enable, just in case something goes wrong with the communications. And now we have the metadata set in place. Now that we're done with the metadata, we're almost done. We just have to edit the Android manifest file. So go ahead and double click that. Open the XML editor, and after the opening manifest tag, let's add some permissions. So the first two are permissions for Bluetooth usage, and the last three are permissions for accessory usage. After that, let's add the reference to the service we created. Go ahead and close it with another tag. So for this service, the name would be where you placed the service in. So I'll just copy and paste this library, service, and I key in the name of the class created, like so. After adding the service, let's add the broadcast receivers to receive SAP communication, as well as a broadcast receiver to quickly install the wearable side widget after the Android side application has been installed. I got this from the reference file from developing Android SAP applications from the Samsung developer site, and you may download that if you want to. So let me go ahead and paste that, like so. The first one is for service connection. The second one is to register upon install. So now, last but not least, of course, let's add a reference to the metadata. Let's go ahead and open that up and give it a name. Name would be accessory services. Location. Take note of this name. We'll be using it in the Tizen side as well. The value is where it is located. So it's inside the res folder, XML, and the name of the file. And now we're done with the manifest file. For a review, let's have a recap of the best practices in creating an application for SAP. First, have all the parts for development. Second, add the accessory jar files and metadata file in the specified location. Third, take note of the details of the metadata since they will be referenced in the Tizen side. And fourth, don't panic when seeing errors. There's the API to help us out. We hope this tutorial helped. For inquiries, Please post your questions on the official forum at developer.samsung.com. Stay tuned for part 2 of the series. Thanks for watching.